For centuries, we were told the pyramids were built by slaves, cracking under the whip. It is one of the most famous facts in all of history, and it is completely wrong. The people who built the Great Pyramid were paid, skilled workers. Archaeologists found their town right next to the pyramids, with bakeries, breweries, and their own tombs. They were fed so well that we found it in their bones. These men ate prime cuts of beef and drank fresh beer every single day, all on the pharaoh's tab. They were even buried in their own small tombs, decorated with scenes of their lives, an honor no ordinary slave would ever be given. This is the real story history skipped, the hidden lives of the workers, servants, and slaves who actually ran the ancient world. Deep in Egypt sat a secret town called Deir el-Medina, home to the elite craftsmen who carved the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings. We know these workers better than almost anyone in the ancient world because they wrote everything down, including their excuses for skipping work. Real reasons workers called in absent over 3,000 years ago: brewing beer, a scorpion sting, a fight with the wife, and one man was simply too hungover to work. They even had a village doctor and could take paid sick days. Their foreman tracked every absence and every ration on little shards of pottery we can still read today. They also had a weekend. They worked 8 days, then rested 2, and could take time off for personal errands. The rest of the world would not catch up for thousands of years. And when their pay was delivered late, these workers did something no one had ever recorded before. They put down their tools and refused to work. It was history's first recorded labor strike in the reign of Ramesses III. And it worked. The workers got paid. Now travel to ancient Rome, where the strangest jobs in history kept the greatest city on earth running. Start with the fullers, the laundrymen. To scrub a white toga clean, they soaked it in the one thing they had in endless supply: human urine. They set out pots on street corners to collect it. Urine was so valuable the Emperor Vespasian taxed it. When his son called it disgusting, he held up a gold coin and said, "Money does not stink." One slave had the worst job in the bathhouse: the armpit plucker. The philosopher Seneca complained he could not think over the constant shrieks of customers getting their armpit hair yanked out. Another guarded everyone's clothes at the baths, because theft was so common that losing your toga while you bathed was practically a Roman tradition. The rich had a slave for everything: one to hold the mirror, one whose only job was to remember the names of everyone they met and whisper them in their master's ear. Wealthy Roman women had hairdresser slaves who built towering hairstyles with hot irons. Curl it wrong, and an angry mistress might stab you with the sharp end of a hairpin. And the food taster who ate the emperor's dinner first, every single night. Praying tonight was not the night someone finally slipped in the poison. Out on the streets, workers served hot food and wine from marble counters, the ancient world's fast food, feeding a city of 1 million people. Roman surveyors used a simple tool called the groma to lay out entire cities and army camps in perfect, straight grids. Some of those roads you can still drive on today. There were even professional divers who plunged into rivers and sunken ships to haul up lost cargo. They were the salvage crews of the ancient world. You could even hire professional mourners, women paid to weep, wail, and tear their hair at a stranger's funeral, just to make the dead look more loved than they were. One famous fact you have probably heard, that Roman soldiers were paid in salt, which gave us the word salary. It is a great story, but historians say that link is almost certainly a myth. But for millions, ancient work meant something far darker. No one had it worse than the helots of Sparta. The Spartans did not just own them. Once a year, they officially declared war on their own slaves, so any Spartan could kill a helot, without it counting as a crime. In the silver mines of Greece, tens of thousands of slaves worked in tunnels too low to stand in, breathing poison dust. Most did not last long. That silver paid for the navy that saved Greece. In China, hundreds of thousands were forced to build the Great Wall. So many died in the freezing mountains that it earned a grim nickname, the longest cemetery on earth. Even the executioner was an outcast. In Rome, the man who carried out death sentences was seen as so unclean that he was banned from living inside the city walls. And then there were the gladiators. Some were slaves, some were prisoners. But the greatest became the celebrities of their day, with fan graffiti scrawled across the walls of Pompeii. They had a strange diet. Gladiators ate mostly barley and beans to build a thick layer of fat, a natural armor that let them bleed for the crowd without dying. They were nicknamed the Barley Men. And after a match, a fallen gladiator's blood was scraped up and sold as medicine, gulped down by Romans as a cure for everything from epilepsy to bad luck. Still, a winning gladiator could earn prize money, and a lucky few won their freedom in the arena, handed a simple wooden sword as the symbol of their release. Even the Colosseum, the greatest arena ever built, was raised largely by the hands of enslaved prisoners of war, dragged back from Rome's conquests. Because here is what most people get wrong about ancient slavery. For many, it was not always the end of the story. Roman slaves were allowed to earn and save their own money, called a peculium, and many used it to do the unthinkable, buy their own freedom. Some slaves were the most educated people in the room. Wealthy Romans paid fortunes for Greek slaves to serve as their doctors, their accountants, and their children's tutors. A freed slave became a Roman citizen, and their children were born completely free, full citizens with every right. Some freed slaves grew richer than the masters who once owned them. One former slave named Tiro invented a shorthand writing system just to keep up with his master, the senator Cicero. His symbols were still being used across Europe 1,000 years later. So the next time you picture the ancient world, do not only picture the emperors and the pharaohs. Picture the millions of workers, servants, and slaves whose names we mostly forgot, but whose hands actually built every wonder we still stare at today. That was Chapter 2. Subscribe, and next time we dig into the biggest disasters and epic fails of the ancient world, I will see you there.